issues from the business and try to exploit the opportunities created by the technology. At the same time, that requires almost a solid foundation of institutions, including the legal structure, as well as the technological infrastructure to be able to use the infrastructure safely and socially acceptably, whatever that means. And I recently wrote a book titled Social Capitalism, Business Strategy in a Connected World, in which, next slide please, in which I argued that we're not only talking about simply new technology, we're talking about a major shift, almost a shift in civilization, which is the 20th century, where the 20th century model has been that of anonymous mass sales economy. Factories producing large amount of goods, pushing it through the supply chain, and selling to the anonymous mass. But we are shifting from that to the 21st century connected and service economy, and then shift from these two. I mean, these implications of this shift is not simply of change in business model, but it incorporates many social changes affecting people's lives and how companies operate and how governments should operate. Next slide, please. Here are some of the points I made about just simply to contrast before and after, in which the 20th century mass production sales economy was essentially that of mass sales and selling to anonymous mass. It was Professor Alfred Chandler of Harvard Business School, where I graduated from, who argued that such economy has been created by the advances in the railroad structure and telegram, which essentially allowed expansion of geographic expansion of market. You can mass produce, but unless you can sell these goods stably and in large quantities, the mass production itself doesn't work. So his big argument was that it was actually the mass marketing aspect that allowed the modern forms of economy and of corporations and so forth. And if you notice, I mean, there are many things we take for granted, like packaged bottles, brand, fixed amount of water in a fixed size bottle, and fixed price with brand instead of people's faces or people's names. And all these things have been established. Now here I depart from Professor Chandler, and my own argument is that and such format was necessary because in a traditional economy and society where people connected face to face, I mean, when you're eating something, you know who produced the products, and so in such localized economy, trust existed, by default. Whereas in a mass production and large-scale market, the essential trust between a producer and the consumer doesn't exist. That's why things like branding has become necessary to fill the gap of trust. And of course, if you need to go down the road a little bit after Telegram, with the emergence of radio-based commercial, sort of radio and TV and so forth, have reinforced this model of mass-produced products, branding, and filling the trust. You essentially trust the brand that you're purchasing. And next slide, please. Of course, this is changing, and how is it changing? Now, we are starting to talk about a connected world. I mean, usually, if you were audience, a business audience, I would be saying that you are recovering direct contact that you lost to the consumers. That whereas, many manufacturers in the process of establishing 20th century marketing structure have lost direct contact with the consumers. Like book publishers don't know who bought them, the book that they published. Now there are opportunities for bookstores, book publishers, to not only know who bought the book, but actually which page you're reading. Here, it's because it is now I'm talking about your issues. But that's a fundamental and profound change from the business point of view, and it's a profound and fundamental change from a social point of view, I think. And of course, these data is starting to become aggregated. Whereas in the age of PC, where the data and the application were individually stored in local devices, the data, of course, was scattered. Now we're talking about the cloud age, when all these information of which page of a book I'm reading, or everybody is reading, in a cloud system where the data can be connected. And of course, not only do data be collected and gathered, they remember things. I don't know whether you should, maybe the right to be forgotten is the right thing to do or not, but at least we have a system that remembers everything. From the business point of view, trust becomes yet again a major focus, which is the argument that I'm making in the book. Maybe different kind of trust. Trust to control or to know about you. That we want butlers or purchase agents who really represent you, the consumer, and not anybody else. So that the data will be used in your interest rather than somebody else's. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And of course, I don't have to talk about this. We were talking about cloud computing and device and cloud computing integrally delivering service. And an ecosystem of network and devices, and of course this again, from the business point of view, yes, indeed, for whatever problem it may create, it has an effect to, improve your service, generate more value and delivering to the customers, and of course profitability to companies. And we would like to be able to use the opportunities that the technology delivers. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Who's operator? And of course, privacy. I mean, I think we have a wonderful group of experts who will be discussing this topic. And from Keio, a few of our younger scholars who's really leading policies in this area is here. And we are happy for them to be able to have this opportunity to discuss these issues. Of course, you can't let everybody. You don't want to let anybody be into. Was there a slide before this? Yeah. I was supposed to talk about this before going into privacy. May I talk about this? Yeah. Of course, cloud. The significance of connected economy is actually profound in business sense also. That many of the things we take for granted, like we purchase, we pick up goods, put it in, bring it to in the cash register, you pay cash and bring it back. We take that for granted. And yet that's a form, and that's a typical anonymous format. We needed to settle everything by cash in each transaction because there was no way to track you after you walk out of the store. In that kind of circumstance, you need to settle each transaction by cash and goodbye. That was okay. But in a connected world, you can have a continuous relationship. It's called relationship marketing in the area of marketing, by the way. That you continue your relationship and follow the customers and make suggestions and all that kind of things. Which means you don't necessarily have to settle everything each time. When Apple was selling music by PC, they had to settle each transaction by each time. Now, increasingly with the cloud system, we are beginning to observe subscription models that assumes continuous relationship. And in many ways, we can characterize that by sort of a sharing economy. Economy from not based on property ownership and delivering ownership to whoever the next owner, but rather the license or subscription model where you actually allow people to use your property and the things. And I think I'm using up my time, so I'm not going to go over other things, but some fundamental, I mean, there are many things in business format that have assumed anonymous relationship and severed individual transactions. And all that kind of thing is starting to change. And we need to talk about, I mean, actually that applies to privacy also. Privacy is a 19th century notion that emerged along with the rise of modern mass consumption society. And of course, I mean, I'm preaching to the wrong people, but it was originally created to counter the massive effect of mass media. And so all these, what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is that we can't simply talk about cloud technology in the existing ways of forming this world, but we need to be aware that the foundation, the fundamental, is starting to change, and we need whatever institutions and laws we're making has to be aware of these shifts. Next slide. And in that sense, I think now I am I'm not an expert on this, but just an amateur view of the privacy situation is we tend to think about in dichotomies, whether everything is completely private or whether something is completely public. But in reality, we are talking about platforms, so almost a membership kind of institutions where you register and sort of creating a social domain to which access is by permission. And I think it's almost inevitable that this kind of three-layered structure emerges. And I think whenever we start talking in the dichotomy of private versus public, that things tend to go nowhere. And I think we next slide, please. I think what we really have to think seriously about is creating platforms for trust and incentive for collaboration, where the platform that protects data and delivers service also generates security, including privacy, and the incentive, which means that there is I'm not going to go very deep in this, but we are talking about a very big network externality in the mechanism of value creation, which means that unless somebody intervenes, there are people who benefit and other people who are just exploited. A redistribution of value among all these members that participate is going to become necessary. So I hope this view from the business policy end helps in your discussion. We really need a global structure. I mean, not just. I mean, a domestic solution will not. I mean, I'm sure you recognize this. That the domestic solution will not do. We need international framework for governing this big data environment, and I hope this conference will